I've been on a quest to fly on all the Boeing 747 in the world, and 10 years ago, I've flown on an Air India 747-400 from Jeddah to Mumbai with a stop in Hyderabad. I want to share with you that flight experience today. It wasn't very easy to fly on Air India 747. At that time, the Air India 747 fleet has been already removed from flying to places like London and New York. Instead, it's been gone to the Middle East, primarily Saudi Arabia, to carry labor and expatriate between Saudi Arabia and India. So Jeddah in Saudi Arabia is massive and also a very messy airport. Around 10 o'clock at night, the line started to form at the Jeddah terminal, boarding for the Friday night AI 964 service to Hyderabad. The airport has no jet bridge at Jeddah. It took almost an hour to board the flight. Every single load of passenger has been brought by bus, and then you walk up on the stairway and seeing the 747. I love it because seeing the 747 up close and able to take a few quick pictures was incredible. Just, really exciting moment before the journey starts. We had about an hour delay because of the boarding delay. The plane was filled in economy, but it was empty in first class, and I was the only person in first class. It was incredible. I have all 12 seats in the front.
Instruction card, which is placed in the seat pocket.
It has 26 seats on the upper deck on Air India and about 380 seats in economy class. When I stepped in the plane at that time, it was 18 years old. The plane looks very tired, honestly. And here are some pictures in the past. Air India used to have a reputation decorated up their cabin. The whole wallpaper was very tasty with a lot of culture. They call it Your Palace in the Sky. I was slightly disappointed because it was a rather bland cabin compared to the past what Air India has done to their 747-200 and 300. At the same time, I think I was the only guy being so excited on that 747 and almost shocked the crew because all the other people just want to get home and they don't care what aircraft type they were flying on. And I made a special trip to get to Jeddah just to fly on the 747.
On behalf of Air India and Captain Wallpaper Singh, we welcome you on board AI 964 to Hyderabad and Mumbai. We apologize for the delay and the inconvenience that has caused you.
So we departed at 3 minutes before midnight out of Jeddah, runway 34 left. It was a very powerful climb and it was very fast takeoff. Consider it was a short medium flight. I really enjoyed that bank over Jeddah heading toward the east. You can hear the engine spooling up. The whole cabin was dimmed. I was the only one sitting first class, enjoying that beautiful climb over a full moon. 10 minutes after takeoff, the seatbelt sign came off and the crew quickly came, rolled out a full cart of meal in front of me. The speed was so fast, it was fascinating. The meal was fantastic. There were like 6 or 7 items. It's like a buffet. They serve right in front of you, which I love it. That's the old school 747 service. There were vegetable biryani, there were chicken biryani, there were eggplants, potato, and there were lamb tikka in skewers, and with a really good rice vermicelli dessert. And I really enjoyed all the food. And then I just fell asleep in the flat bed. There were no bedding or anything. It was just a small golden pillow and a blanket. And I fell asleep all the way until the descent into Hyderabad. We landed in Hyderabad in pretty hazy weather in the morning, and all the passenger deplaned. There were about 300 people getting off the flight. And we waited for new passenger to come on board. At that time, the crew came over to serve me breakfast tea with some Indian snack. At that same time, I was able to get up to the upper deck to take a look. I even got to meet the 2 pilots. I still remember their name from my logbook. It was Mr. Opanda Singh and Mr. Vikram Singh. Air India pilots were very careful. They didn't allow me to go to the cockpits. Instead, they came out and had a chat with you and talk about the 747. On the upper deck, have a look. On the side bins, it's all still with decoration and wallpaper, which is fantastic. As a frequent traveler, I travel to so many countries and I take full advantage of using a VPN to bypass internet censorship, to find cheaper air tickets, and also to encrypt and secure my data. Internet censorship is a huge pain in many countries. I use Surfshark VPN to connect to another country to bypass the censorship, to connect to all the social media and email to stay in touch with my friends and families. And even better, I can use Surfshark VPN to connect to all the Netflix library with just one subscription. With the help of Surfshark VPN, sometimes I also benefit from cheaper travel, looking at cheaper air tickets, cheaper hotels, and cheaper rental cars by connect to another country. During my travel, I often use public Wi-Fi at the airport or in the hotel to send sensitive information like banking data over the internet. They're not secure, so I use Surfshark VPN to encrypt and secure my data. And here is the best viewers offer today. Get Surfshark VPN at surfshark.com/Sam. Enter promo code SAM. You will get 83% off and 3 additional months of subscription for free. This video is sponsored by Surfshark. I was expecting a very quick and short and easy flight going to Mumbai, but I was wrong. Another 300 people came in as domestic passenger joining the 747. The flight to Mumbai was also uneventful, had another breakfast meal. At 10 a.m., we arrived in Mumbai. We landed on runway 14 with a hard landing and all the brakes were slammed to stop quickly on the short runway in Mumbai. And that was my Air India 747 journey, and I thoroughly enjoyed and really glad that I had the opportunity to fly on it. And now I want to share with you one even bigger fan of Air India. My friend Anthony has spent most of 2020 recreating an Air India 747 experience just because he loved it so much, and this is worth to take a look.
Sam, welcome on board Air India.
Namaste.
When I stepped on board an Air India 747 back then, all of my senses were literally stimulated. And it's what inspired me to actually recreate that experience right here in modern day times. I promise everyone, the moment they step on board this airplane, they're going to feel like they're flying on Air India.
Welcome on board Air India.
One of the things I specifically remember was the rich pattern upholstery and the artwork on the sidewall panels. They called it the Joroka window livery. And it literally was like a story of an old Indian tale from Lord Krishna. The paisley motifs on all the galley walls, the flight attendant uniforms, they were dressed in these saris from Rajasthan. And then the Indian music playing on board the airplane. When you put it all together and the fabulous Indian cuisine, it was seriously one of my all-time favorite in-flight experiences. Building the Air India 747 experience is actually no easy task. There were so many brand elements that went with that service that I literally spent a year recreating every single item. Things like the silverware, the glassware, the Air India menu, very detailed with fine strands of rope in between the pages. This was actually my favorite boarding pass from Air India back then. Pink and white with the Maharaja in the middle. Two of my favorite napkins on Air India. This traditional design with the Air India logo, and then this other more complicated pattern, but I wanted both.
I like this one better.
Me too. The experience would be nothing without a traditional Air India peanut pack, complete with the daily 747 service, London, Europe, India, right on the packaging. And then one of my favorite parts about an Air India drink was this stir stick with the little Maharaja printed right on both sides of it. And then who can forget the Air India coaster and that fantastic design. And then, of course, Sam, one of my favorite things ever are tray liners. All had elements and brands on it, like the Maharaja on every single piece that we use in the aircraft. I had to produce 3 types of glassware in order to make this experience, and you need these in enormous quantities. And so I have the traditional cocktail glass from Air India. I created the juice, orange, and water glass. And then finally, the wine or specialty glass for the tray table.
And look at these gold plates.
Yeah,
wow.
these gold plates we're going to be using to serve the mango chutney that'll go with our samosa for the appetizer. So Sam, one of my favorite carts, I think, of the Air India experience is going to be this tea and coffee service. Like these fantastic vintage Indian teapots are going to be used to serve lots of vintage Indian teas. This would be the Air India coffee or tea cup. And our air hostesses are going to be, imagine them pouring your tea into this cup on board this 747. Now I'd like to just show you what the Air India first class fabric is going to look like. And this is a really complicated pattern. It took me quite a bit of time and effort to get it right. But you can see how amazing this is going to look. I've done a lot of different airline replications, and almost every other one has one wall pattern throughout the entire aircraft. But on Air India, literally, every single zone has its own unique wall covering, and so it takes an enormous amount of art, an enormous amount of printing to actually get it right for that exotic aircraft. I've already reproduced the seat maps for the stickers, and then I've got large quantities here of all the things we're going to use on board the flight, even the bag for the back of the seat. So last October, with some very close friends and family members, we did the very first trial run of the Air India experience, complete with all those products and brand elements, along with some amazing Indian cuisine. It was my funnest night of 2020.